Hey guys, Nary here from Drakewing Gaming, some of you know me on Twitter, The Gaming Dragon. Today I'm coming back at you another Let's Play episode of Far Beyond the World. So guys, let's go ahead and jump right back into it, shall we? Please sit back and enjoy for the next 18 minutes to entertain you, and let's jump right in. Ooh, Alarm 10, you're up, and let's go. Okay. If you don't have the courage to do what needs to be done, then abstain, you damn fool! Audra snaps in anger, getting up to her feet. She's standing over the male, and he slumps into feet. I'll abstain in both capacities. I'm a bit confused that she's allowed to intimidate someone else's vote, but I guess different rules govern this society. Withdrawing and being effectively silenced, the chief nods calmly, almost as if it didn't really matter. Perhaps he takes solace in the fact there's a wedge forming between those two. Yep. Well then, all we need is one elder to assent to this vote. You will never have my support in this matter, the pudgy female snarls, shaking her fist in the air as if it were a serious threat. I don't want it. The chief shrugs. You've brought all the support I need. Enelle? He looks up to the ancient female, and she's again asleep. Rule has to nudge her. Oh, yes, my chief? She mutters sleepily, and this time I have a hard time telling if she was faking it or not. We've just voted to summon the Howl. All we need is an elder's assent. Her voice doesn't count. She's senile. Again, Aldris's harrowing screeching booms across the field, and Enelle shivers uncomfortably. Oh, I don't know. I haven't partaken in such important matters in quite some time. Exactly! Abstain, woman! The pudgy female continues her verbal harassment. Leave this matter to the wolves whose minds are still clear! Enelle, we're at an impasse here. The chief speaks calmly, looking at her with a gentle expression. I wouldn't ask you otherwise, but it's crucial we make a decision tonight, for the tribe. Oh, well, I've known you ever since you were a pup, Varric. She gives him a kind smile. You've always put the need of our tribe above your very own. If you think that's what's best, then, of course, you have my support. Thank you. He nods, issuing a sigh of relief. As always, you're a credit to our people. Vithir, I trust you to send out the messages first thing in the morning. He turns to his friend, and the brown male nods in agreement. Would you mind hosting her overnight? We'll need her seal on every parchment. Not at all. We'll have some good old story time at the fireplace. Vithir laughs and winks towards Enelle. Ooh, goody-goody! I'll make you some mulled wine, the one you like so much. That will be splendid. The female claps her hands in joy, her expression brightening on the spot. I could also catch up with that lovely girl of yours. She's an insubordinate bitch! Aldous growls again, causing the elderly female to blink in shock. Goodness, that's not a word one often hears amongst the gentry. Mark my words, Varric. This will not play out the way you hope it will. The pudgy female issues her warning, turning her hateful gaze towards Enelle. And as for you, this is the last time I've involved you in anything. Do you promise? She asked politely, drawing a surprised chuckle from the gathering. Not to sound ungrateful, dearie, but all this hassle is not good for a wolf my age. I very much like to be left undisturbed. No one within the tribe deserves peace more than you. The chief bows his head respectfully to Enelle while the pudgy female's growls intensify until she almost sounds like a chainsaw. For a moment, everyone expects another outburst from the belligerent bitch, but seeing that pretty much all the eyes are on her, Aldris decides to storm off. As she's taking her leave, she shoves Dran off his stool and into the dirt. What you did today took some courage. Vithir bops his cup toward the scrambling male, watching him slowly get back to his feet. Perhaps not battle courage, but courage nonetheless. I don't need your pity. Dran sneers, looking at the chief with a mix of anger and desperation in his eyes. If you honestly believe this is serious as all that, then at least send someone to get my son back. You have my word. The chief nods. I've already decided a pack would leave tomorrow. Tano, get your wolves ready. Me? The white wolf nearly spits out his wine in panic. Yes, you. You're the second fastest after Rannoch. Your pack is mostly rangers. Vithir pitches in. If there are any more scouts in our woods, you'll be able to fuck them in their asses. The gathered laugh and raise their cup to toast the proposed scenario. Also, I will be sending my son to Strandbard tomorrow. The chief reveals. This takes me by surprise. I cast my worried gaze to Rannoch, poking his side to draw his attention. The wolf only puts a finger to his muzzle, asking that I remain quiet and turn to face his father. He'll treat in my name with the Tiggery magistrate. We'll need good quality steel and other supplies should things escalate. Do you think it's a good idea, or perhaps I should go? No, I need you here. Besides, if he ever is to become a chief, he needs to learn. Father, with your permission, I would like to take my attendant with me. He seizes the opportunity, and I want to both exhale in relief as much as leap with joy at the prospect of travel. The human? Whatever for? His memory might be blankest for the moment, but that doesn't mean no one remembers him. Renax states confidently. Perhaps in Strandbard, a clue as to his origin would present itself. I don't see why not. Chief shrugs. As long as he won't slow you down. He won't. In fact, he could carry some of the load, easing the journey significantly. All this nasty business suddenly takes a second seat to the idea of visiting the Tiger Town. My mind begins racing with imaginings of that place. Very well. I guess that's all for tonight. We all have a busy morning ahead of us, so I suggest we call it a day. Just before he leaves the table, the chief stops and rummages behind a fold of his kilt. He retrieves something akin to a decorative stamp and throws it to Vithier. To save you the trip to the villa for my seal. You know what to do with it. Indeed. The brown wolf smiles. It would seem the chief wasn't joking when he said Vithier does half of his rulings for him. He clearly trusts him enough to give him his seal. Then again, those two are incredibly close. With the chief taking his leave, the remaining wolves begin to disperse slowly. We stay at the table a few more minutes, with the alphas finishing up their drinks and meals. Vul is desperately trying to grab Verissa's attention, despite Regara being seated between them. Oh my god. But each time he tries to do anything, he inevitably draws the attention of the towering female, who mistakes herself as the target of his glances and keeps sending him flirtatious winks in return. Not gonna lie, I enjoy watching Vul get flustered like that. You seem duller and more bemused than usual. I pick up Tano's hushed comment towards the white female. And here I thought it would be the first night when you'd keep your mouth shut. You're also touchier than usual. Mind your own damn business. Verissa rolls her eyes in annoyance. Was only asking, but I guess you don't want my help. I want you to shut up. I can clearly see she's upset and very much not interested in participating in any of the conversations. I notice that some of her fur, along with parts of the dress, are covered with dried blood splotches. Patching people up after battle must be a horrible experience, that's for sure. But before I dismiss her sour mood to the unpleasantness of her occupation, I notice the very same old rusty blade at her side. It's also covered in reddish residue. It's clear she washed it in haste, most likely rushing here for the vote. I can't imagine performing any sort of surgery with that thing. It's almost like operating on someone with a dinner knife. I shudder, imagining being stabbed with that thing instead of Vul's dagger. Although an unpleasant experience, the knife did go in effortlessly. In fact, the stab itself wasn't half as bad. It's what came after. I shake my head. Why would he buy her a fucking dress? A sharper blade would seem so much a better gift. As I finish my musings, so does everyone finish their meals. Regara downs her last cup of wine. She must have gone through at least a dozen by this point. There's no sign of her getting tipsy. Well, this was fun. V, take me to my wolves, will you? I won't be able to sleep a wink if I don't see them before I hit the hay. Of course. The white female nods and walks over. Seeing this, Vul empties the remnants of Everclear from the clay bottle and gets up. Oh no. Verissa, you look... Please, Vul, don't. Not tonight. She utters in resignation. I was covered in the blood of our friends. The last thing I need are your tortured advances. If you ever get tired of rejection, you know where to find me, handsome. Regara chuckles. I know you're a first-timer. I'll be gentle. I'll try not to break anything you might need later. She issues another burst of laughter and follows behind the white female, leaving Vul in the proverbial dust. It doesn't take long for the black male to check out as well. Oh! Wow, he really checked out. Well, let's go home, Enelle. Vithier mutters between idle licks of his fingers. He gets up and throws away a chicken bone he just cleaned. Oh, yes, let me get... Enelle struggles to get up, and I rush to her side to aid her. Ooh, gallant as always. I am getting quite attached to that funny fella. He ain't that bad. The brown male comes to a stop in front of us and gently pushes me aside. I'll take over. Just a moment, love. Enelle corrects Rannick's cape on her shoulders and looks toward the grey wolf. You'll be wanting this back. Oh no, keep it. It's a chilly evening. The wolf utters through a soft smile as he approaches us. Aren't you just a peach? I'll have Ivy return it to you on the morrow. I'll see you later, little rascal. The ancient female ruffles my hair and allows Vithier to lead her away. Once there's some distance between us, I mutter quietly. Who's Ivy? She's Enelle's attendant, a she-bunny almost as ancient as Enelle herself. I thought you only took young ones for indentured service. I looked at him in confusion. We do. Ivy was with Enelle since they both were our age. Jesus, how big was her debt? I nearly exclaimed, causing the wolf to laugh. Oh, that debt is long paid. Ivy decided to stay with Enelle of her own volition. At this point, At this point, they're more like friends than anything else. The way wards are treated around here, I'm a bit surprised to hear that. Not all wolves are like Dryden and Aldris. Being a ward isn't a punishment. It's just a natural order of things. The strong are meant to protect the weak, and in turn, the weak serve the strong. Warden's relationships is meant to be built on mutual respect and care. It's just some that chose to abuse this. You say that, but I don't think other wolves see it that way. Maybe. It's just something Enelle had taught me when I was young. Oh? I ask, and Rannick fidgets uncomfortably. I lost my temper with a ward when I was a brash teen. I didn't strike him, but sometimes the things we say hurt just as much. His voice conveys evident shame and regret. She overheard me and gave me a lesson in humility. That explains it, then. You had at least one good role model when it comes to a relationship with wards. Hey now, my father doesn't abuse the bunnies. He sounds pretty defensive, and I chuckle. True, but he doesn't befriend them either. Wolf smiles reluctantly, but his gaze ventures to the white wolf who's still sitting at the table. I need you to give me a moment. I have to talk with him. Rannick, nothing happened. We just walked in the same direction. Now that you say it, I know it's not exactly true. He gives me a knowing look. But I trust you. I have other business with him anyway. He's still one of us, and since my father is sending him out there, I want to brief him on what I've seen. Okay, good. Be nice to him, Anna say pleadingly. I know he can be an annoying dick, but he seems more confused and malicious. Ha! Rannick snorts in amusement, shaking his head. You're either a soothsayer or simply lucky with your observations. He continues to chuckle as he approaches the white wolf. I, on the other hand, am left alone, watching as the remaining stragglers slowly leave the grounds. My gaze darts from time to time towards Vul, who's simply walking between the tables, checking if there's any moonshine left in the clay bottles. Whenever he finds some, he simply downs it in one go, instantly searching for his next score. I sigh and decide to approach him. I know it might not be my place to say this. Then don't say it. But... And you're gonna say it anyway. He grumbles, taking another sip of the Everclear. I think you're going about her the wrong way. What do I have to do to make you mind your own damn business, Piglet? The Black Wolf throws me an angered stare. Stabbing was not enough. Choking is not enough. Do I really need to kill you for you to fuck off? I sigh heavily, rolling my eyes as he's again in one of those moods. I have an idea for something you could do. Listen. He stops dead in his tracks, pulling me closer and bringing his snarling muzzle right to my ear. I might enjoy you as one would enjoy a stray dog, but if you continue barking, I won't hesitate to strangle you until I'll pop your voice box like an overripe plum. Damn, Vul, you getting dark. I let him vent, his strained huffs of air bursting against my cheek and neck to no effect. Once he calms enough to increase the distance between us, I continue. You're drunk. I'll come back to this another... How is it that everyone keeps figuring out you can speak our language, and yet it seems like you don't understand a fucking word I'm saying? He growls, smashing a clay bottle onto the ground and storming off. Fuck this noise! A few remaining wolves look in my direction, but quickly shrug it off as a dumb ward annoying the most volatile of wolves. I guess in such a light there isn't much to see. I look back to Rannick, worried he might have seen this spat, and to no surprise, he did. But his conversation with Tano seems to take priority. I give them some more time, just idling around the dying-out bonfire. Eventually their exchange is concluded, and Rannick comes to fetch me. What was that about? Nothing, Vul being Vul as always. I sigh in resignation. Or you being you? He teases reluctantly, and I chuckle. That too. Come on, let's head home. The first leg of our walk back happens in complete silence, mostly on the account of a small group of wolves hanging around the entries of different houses. I can hear them discussing the events at the border, and as we pass them by, each group nods respectfully to Rannick. They seem to approve and even admire his valor, and it makes me proud to walk beside him. But instead of enjoying this well-deserved recognition, Rannick feels rather defeated. I can't help but notice that his tail is slightly tucked in, and his ears aren't exactly upright. I have my suspicion confirmed when we enter the last stretch of the road leading to the cottage. With no soul around, we could speak freely, but Rannick remains silent. I can see something's troubling him, but decide to allow him a few moments to collect his thoughts. If he continues shutting down once we get home, then I'll try and prod. Right. You get inside and set up some fire. I need to check the surrounding for any disturbances. I want to help. No, he says sternly. You would only confuse my senses and possibly disturb any clues. I look to him with worry, but the wolf doesn't budge. Trust me, I know what I'm doing. You on the other paw. Okay, I'll leave you to it. I concede and enter the cabin, hanging up my cloak and approaching the stove in order to set up a fire. Once the flames dance merrily, I bring 2 mugs of ale to the table, but they otherwise don't move much, treating the place like a crime scene. I rest myself comfortably against the table and lock my gaze with the crackling fire. I'm startled a little when I hear the window thud behind me, only to see the shutters close. Rannick's instinctively doing what Tano had suggested. I'm not sure how I feel about this whole situation. Once there's a third set of shutters closed, the wolf finally returns with a rather defeated expression. And... nothing. The wolf sighs in annoyance, taking off his pauldron. He drops various parts of his gear despondently. Even his swords fall to the ground with a loud thud to the wolf's indifferent shrug. We'll need to lock them from the inside. There's a latch that bolts them into the sill. He points towards the windows, and I nod in understanding, opening each one and securing it. While I do so, Rennick starts sniffing about, both literally and figuratively, reaching up high with his nose and then low to the ground, almost haunching like a beast. I watch as he scans the kitchen with his gaze, his nose twitching in search of any sign of disturbance. The wolf steps carefully into the bedroom to do the same, but quickly returns slightly confused. All I can smell is lavender. I narrow my eyebrows and take a deep inhale. Now that you mention it, so can I. My soap isn't this strong, though. Rennick shakes his head. No, it's dried florets. Someone used them to mask their scent. I can't recognize who's been here. The wolf responds through a soft growl, and I place my calming hand onto his shoulder. I mean, everything seems in place. They didn't touch anything, either. He exhales in partial relief. Otherwise, I'd smell the perfumed residue. Seems that whoever was here didn't do much at all. Maybe it was just meant to be as a scare. Whatever the reason, I look at the weary wolf with worry. Well then, perhaps it was nothing, I propose with a hopeful tone. Maybe someone was just checking if you're in. Why lavender, though? He looks to me with green eyes, focused and determined. It's a bit odd someone entered our home smelling like your newly acquired toiletry. When you put it like that, I mutter, rubbing my neck awkwardly. It would definitely pan out with someone creepily stalking me. Considering what Tano had told me, Andalt fits the bill perfectly. For a moment, I actually want to talk about this with Rannick, but seeing his troubled expression and reminding myself of what was being said at the feast, I just can't bring myself to trouble him further. Wait, why not? Why won't you tell him you suspect it's Andalt? That seems like a pretty good suspicion. Andalt seems harmless by everyone's account, a bit unhinged but otherwise manageable. No! No! That is not what any of us think! Every single one of us watching this right now thinks it's him. Alright? It's the creepy guy who's been in a robe stalking you the entire time, you know? I'd far rather focus on alleviating whatever troubles my wolf right now than worry about some mishaps of a slightly confused wolf. When Rennick plops resigned into his chair, I decide it's time to lift up the mood. He's been acting off for a while now. You know what? It doesn't matter. I shake my head. For all we know, it's a stupid prank or a misunderstanding. Let's focus on here and now. I grab one tankard and push it towards him, seeing myself comfortably opposite the deflated wolf and taking a sip. But despite my efforts, Rennick seems as defeated as before, and it doesn't seem to be related to the house intrusion either. He's been all over the place ever since he came home. Your mood quickly turned, I mutter casually, trying not to sound too pushy. I thought you'd be excited about tomorrow. I know I am. Imagine the famous Strandbart. I mean, you don't have to imagine it, you've been there. I chuckle, shaking my head at my poor choice of words. But I kept wondering how it all looks, not to mention meeting a tiger. How do you say it, Ken? Folk, actually. He responds indifferently. So, tiger folk. He nods. Kin is more appropriate if you prefer your own kind, although we most use it in colloquial speech. Tigers are a bit stuck-uppy on that matter. So you're not a wolfkin, then? I am to my own kind. To you, I'm a wolven folk. Alright guys, I'm gonna pause it right here. Thank you all so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, ring that notification bell, leave a super thanks, or tip if you can, it always helps. Until the next video, I love you all. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye!